Hello and welcome back to Whiskey Wednesdays. My name is Alan Rubin. This is Jonathan Lipson. As you all know, that this segment is generally done with Alec and with Bradley. Unfortunately, they're both out today, or for my sake and John's sake, I think that's fortunate. So I don't really know what the format is. I got a call this morning from Alec saying that he wasn't going to make it in today to do this, and if I could take over. And as I was preparing for this segment, you know, Alec had mentioned to me that he thought it was a great idea to be able to bring the whiskey world and the cigar world together, that there was, you know, benefits of being able to bring these two segments that are very passionate about it together. And so what I realized is I think that's all potential bullshit. I think this is an opportunity for him to drink early in the day while he's getting paid. That's what I think.
I'm pretty sure you're correct on that one, Alan.
Yeah. Yeah, so I asked him what the format was, and he said, Dad, he said, you can drink what you want and you can smoke what you want, which is what I pretty much do every day anyway, but so now we're doing it on camera. So what I decided was we have this new product that's out, the Alec Bradley Project 40 Maduro, that we're both smoking right now. And John, we've smoked a lot of pre-production samples, yeah, and post-production, obviously. It's just hitting the market now. What are your tasting notes on the cigar? What's your first thought on the cigar and how it performs?
My first thought, it's like smoking a cocoa bar. Nice natural sweetness to it. When we put the blend together, the San Andreas Maduro wrapper, we haven't used that in quite some time. We got some Brazilian in there, Nicaraguan in there. It is complex, it's very smooth. I put it more medium with full body, but very, very tasty. That's, my initial thoughts on this cigar.
Well, you and I are pretty much aligned on pretty much the flavor notes. I think it's got a really nice natural sweetness, very well balanced. I think it's medium, maybe just even a touch under. So that's what gave me the idea of what we should, try and pair with, because the flavor notes are, I think you and I, like I said, we're aligned. I actually picked two of my favorites. One is the Old Ezra 7-year-old. What's cool about these guys is these guys were sourcing whiskey up until 2018, and they started now laying down their own liquid after that. But what I really like about this, I've been drinking this for a long time. This is like a $40 bottle.
Oh wow!
And it's I think it's 117 proof.
Gasoline.
Oh please! It's got great flavor to it. I think it pairs well because I think the sweetness is aligned. I also think there's like a chewy smoke on what the cigar gives, and there's kind of a chewiness to this whiskey. So I think what we should do is maybe give this a try first. Okay. It'll be your first glass up. First one. And then kind of let me know what you think between the whiskey and the cigar. Yeah. Oh, that is good. That's great. And if you notice,
coats the palate.
John does this weird thing with his mouth when he's drinking whiskey. Just do that again so everyone just...
Oh, you really want me to do that? No, you don't want to.
Not really.
See this.
I've seen it about 1,000 times. So anyway, what's your first thought on the whiskey and the pairing?
It's very smooth for something that has that large of a proof to it. Mm-hmm. You don't get that humongous alcohol bite that you usually get with something over 100 proof.
And you're more of a Scotch drinker, right?
I'm more of a Scotch drinker. Yeah. Alec, Bradley, you've been trying to get me back to American whiskey. I was an American whiskey guy in college. The sweetness kind of got to me a little bit over time. Single malt Scotch was more of my thing, but this is not particularly sweet. It's very mellow for mm-hmm. something with such a high alcohol content. Definitely the flavor goes all over the palate. It takes up your entire mouth, especially doing that thing I just did that you love so much.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what he's doing there. I don't want to try and describe it again. But anyway, so I like the way this goes together. I think it's a great, and I use this term all the time when I like it. There's kind of a great roller coaster effect in the fact that you kind of get this whiskey and then cigar, whiskey, cigar, that just kind of keeps rolling and making the best of both. So I like this. And by the way, I think for Old Ezra, as a 7-year-old, I think this drinks as a more mature whiskey. So I kind of like that. I think it's got a really nice finish to it, and yet it's smooth and it's complex. So this is my first thought, and I wanted to get your feeling on where it is, of which
it's very nice.
I think you like the combo.
Mm-hmm. That's a good combo. Usually, when I drink something that, has this much of an alcohol content in it, it tends to take over the flavor of the cigar. That's when, I talk to you, I talk to the boys, you're the master of this. You do this thing for a living.
So what I want to do now is I want to go, let's try the Knob Creek 12. So this is a 100 proof whiskey. This whiskey just a couple of days ago came out as the Whiskey Advocate #2 Whiskey of the Year. As you can see, I got into this way before the rating came out, or I do have a problem. But yeah, I kind of like this, and I always like whiskeys that I think pair well with cigars, right? So that's kind of where I go. I know that you like peated whiskey.
I love peated whiskey.
Which I have a hard time doing a pairing with whiskey, with peated whiskey and cigars. So I think the peat really takes over the nose, and it's really hard to find a balance. So that's just me, and there are a lot of people that do what you do, and they like the peated flavors and the cigars together.
Yeah, I mean, I like contrasting flavor. Having worked with you for as long as I've worked with you, I know that contrasting flavor is not something that you feel is appropriate when you're pairing Alec Bradley's with some type of spirit in general, not just the brown spirit. But I like getting hit hard in the face if that peat flavor just like bam, it's right in your face. Let that linger on my palate for a little bit, and then take the smoke, and you just get this fighting effect on the palate. That's what I like.
Yeah.
You don't preach that.
No, I think you need to do. I think when it comes to whiskey and cigar pairings, you need to do what works best for you. So I just find what I know works for me, and we've done pairings for William Grant and Sons with the Balvenie and Glenfiddich, more than any other, where they want me to kind of find this rolling flavor, and so that's kind of the style that I had developed. But hey, whatever style works for you, however you want to drink it, and however you want to smoke it, that's what I suggest you do. But let's pick up the Knob Creek 12 and see how that works.
Let's give it a shot.
I don't understand that thing either, but okay.
I want to explain it. Ask your bartender.
Oh, that's good.
That's really nice. I
Yeah.
can see how that ended up as #2.
Yeah. Now the other thing is this: you can tell the difference between the 117 proof and the 100 proof.
Absolutely, there's
Okay,
no
yeah.
question about that.
Yeah. I think what I find also interesting is I think that the Old Ezra 7 has a little bit of a tobacco note, a little bit of a sweetness, that, like you said, a little bit of that chocolatey note that comes in from the cigar.
From the cigar,
I think
yeah.
you also find that here. I think in the Knob Creek 12, you get a little bit of that dried fruit, raisiny type of, almost a caramel
Yep, I
type
get
of,
that,
of sweetness. But I think they both work really nicely with the sweetness on this cigar. And I think the fact that this cigar is balanced and kind of creamy, I think that works. But also, let me tell you another thing. This is the Maduro in the Project 40. And a lot of people are scared of Maduros. They see a dark cigar and they think it's going to be too full and too heavy. And it's a misconception, right? They think light wrapper, light flavor, dark wrapper, dark flavor. And that's a lot of times how manufacturers will put cigars together. They'll make cigars based on what the perception to the consumer is. But you can make a very heavy cigar with a light wrapper, and you can make a very light cigar with a dark wrapper. But what happens is, with the dark wrapper, it doesn't add any more strength, but generally it does add more sweetness. So a darker wrapper, I think, sometimes works really nicely with a brown spirit, just because they both are based on this kind of sweetness levels. Yeah. So anyway, so now let's kind of do the comparison, and give me your thoughts as to maybe which whiskey would win well with Project 40 Maduro.
I think I'm going to go with the Knob Creek on this one. And not just because it's #2 rating. I find that the Knob Creek is a little bit more sweetness to it. The alcohol content is tampered down just a little bit. It's not completely taking over your palate like the Old Ezra did. It just sat on your palate for a long time. You're still making a really nice balance of flavor on those two, but I think the balance of flavor is nicer on the Knob Creek, in my opinion.
Okay, so here's where I disagree with you.
Okay.
I think that the Old Ezra 7 has enough punch to, like you said, stay on the palate a little bit longer. And I think I can see where it flows with the 12-year-old Knob Creek. I do. My personal, I like that little heavier, little more stringent finish on the 7-year-old, and maybe that's the difference in age. But I think it works really well, and I think that it opens up the palate for the sweetness on this cigar.
I can see that.
So, yeah, I don't know. I know Alec and Bradley like to do like who wins and whatever the competition is.
I think we're all winning.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm just drinking and smoking with a gentleman here who's like my third son, and so unfortunately for Alec and Bradley, they're missing this. We'll probably make it up sometime in the near future. But John, I just want to thank you for doing this, because I couldn't have done the segment, by myself, and to have you here, because we drink and after work
Yeah,
we have a
absolutely.
couple of drinks and cigars and talk a lot, and so this is an opportunity just to do it on camera.
Yeah, Alec and Bradley both wanted me on for some reason. I don't even know who I am at this point.
But listen, this
But I appreciate it.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
this was great, and I appreciate you guys tuning in to Whiskey Wednesdays. I'm sure Alec and Bradley will be back for the next segment. If I'm fortunate enough to be invited back, I'll come back and see you guys again. So thank you very much. Keep drinking, keep smoking, enjoy your day.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan.
Thanks, John. This was kind of like a Jerry Springer interview, but yeah.
Jerry, Jerry, Jerry.